Hello dear students, this is Dr. Shabana Begum, Associate Professor in the Department of Zoology, Maharani Science College for Women, Bangalore, presenting a talk on the topic global warming as one of the major current environmental issue pertaining to BSc Zoology 5th semester under the paper entitled Environmental Biology and Ethology. Students, in my previous lecture, I had discussed a few aspects of ecological succession such as definition, types, then trends, the processes involved, and spoke on the various successive stages of hydrosphere and xerosphere succession, along with the concept of climax and the theories which explain its formation. Today, let me throw light upon the burning topic of present time, that is, the global warming and its impact on climate change and human health, along with its causative factors, which are especially the greenhouse gases. So, the content of this topic is the introduction to greenhouse effect, greenhouse gases and their main anthropogenic causes, the global warming and its impact on climate change and human health, and the mitigation or the control methods. The learning objectives being to understand the concept of greenhouse effect, the assessment of current scenario on global warming and its impacts, and to chalk out the control measures or the strategies. So, to begin with, let us learn about the factors which cause the global warming. A small introduction. So, here the gases that trap heat in the atmosphere are called the greenhouse gases. Greenhouse effect is a naturally occurring phenomena that is responsible for heating of Earth's surface and atmosphere. The greenhouse effect is the capacity of certain gases in the atmosphere to trap heat emitted from Earth's surface, thereby insulating and warming the planet Earth. In fact, the greenhouse effect has warmed Earth for over 4 billion years. This particular figure in this slide will depict the greenhouse effect and how it is formed. So here you can mention the planet Earth is shown in the form of a green color. The arrows, which are black in color, represent the radiation direction. So solar radiation passes through the clear atmosphere and strike the surface of the Earth. So most of the radiation is absorbed by the Earth's surface and warms it. Some solar radiation is reflected by the Earth and the atmosphere. So the infrared radiation is emitted from the Earth's surface. Some of the infrared radiation passes through the atmosphere and some is absorbed and re-emitted in all directions by greenhouse gas molecules. The effect of this being to warm the Earth's surface and the lower atmosphere. So what happens exactly here? In normal circumstances, the temperature on the surface of the Earth is maintained by the energy balance of the sun rays that strike the planet Earth and the heat that is radiated back into the space. But when there is an increase in the amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases, these prevent the heat from being radiated out. So you can say greenhouse effect is the trapping of heat from the sun by certain pollutant gases in the atmosphere, leading to a rise in the Earth's mean temperature. The gases causing greenhouse effect are known as greenhouse gases, which are the form of carbon dioxide, methane, CFCs, that is chlorofluorocarbon, nitrous oxide, water vapor, etc. Some of the founders of greenhouse effect are Joseph Fourier in the year 1824 was the first one to discover greenhouse effect. John Tyndall in 1858 first showed experimentally the greenhouse effect. Svante Arrhenius in the year 1896 quantitatively reported the greenhouse effect. Once again, a flowchart to make you understand about the concept of greenhouse effect. Here you can see the sunlight passes through the atmosphere and the Earth's surface absorbs it. The land gets heated up by the sunlight, which emit back the heat as infrared rays. The greenhouse gases absorb this heat, and part of this heat is sent towards the ground and it heats the Earth's surface and the lower atmospheric again. Before going into global warming, let us learn about what greenhouses are. So you can mention, and you can always see in this particular slide, a beautiful glass house, which is also called as a greenhouse, which usually you see in Lalbagh, right? So here a greenhouse, also called a glass house, it's a building in which plants are grown. These structures range in size from small sheds to very large buildings. So a miniature greenhouse is known as a cold frame. The greenhouse effect was discovered by Joseph Fourier in the year 1824. Usually there are two types of greenhouses we describe, the natural greenhouse and the artificial greenhouse. There are certain differences between the two. Let us learn about them now. So the natural greenhouse is created naturally, while artificial greenhouse is created by the humans. It's man-made. Then in case of natural greenhouse, the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere trap the solar radiations to warm the earth, while in artificial greenhouse, the transparent glass allows the radiations to pass through and traps the radiations by not letting them escape. Natural greenhouse occupies a large area, while the artificial greenhouse occupies a relatively small area. The natural greenhouse creates the heating effect in the whole earth, while the artificial greenhouse creates the heating effect only in a certain specified area. The human activities actually are changing the composition as well as behavior of the atmosphere at an unprecedented rate. The pollutants from a wide range of human activities are increasing the atmospheric concentration of heat trapping gases called greenhouse gases, which act like a blanket, trapping heat close to the surface that would otherwise escape to the atmosphere to the outer space. The overall effect is that there is a net increase of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, which causes global warming, a climate warmer than ever before. So you can see in this particular slide the causes of greenhouse effect, which are the greenhouse gases, then deforestation, burning of fossil fuel, population growth, that is population explosion you can say, then ozone layer depletion and formation of clouds are some of the causes of the greenhouse effect. Now let's learn some more points about the greenhouse gases. So the gases with the properties of greenhouse are known as greenhouse gases, which are in the form of carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide. Then we have CFCs, that is chlorofluorocarbons, ozone, water vapor, etc. Carbon dioxide, as we all know, is formed because of the burning of fossil fuel. A huge amount of carbon dioxide gets introduced into the environment from furnaces of power plants, fossil fuel burning for various purposes, vehicular exhaust, and breathing of animals. The oceans and plants are natural sinks of carbon dioxide, but the oceans may not be able to absorb this increased carbon dioxide. And due to deforestation, plants also cannot utilize the whole carbon dioxide during photosynthesis. Thus, the excess carbon dioxide is responsible for increasing the temperature of the atmosphere. Then we have methane. So, when the organic matter is subjected to oxygen, highly reducing aqueous or terrestrial environmental methane is produced. For example, it is released from wetlands, including both natural swamps and cultivated paddy fields. Methane is also released during extraction and inefficient burning of fossil fuels. Another source of methane is the digestive tracts of cattle, sheep, and goats. Termites also produce methane. It has been found that methane release occurs mostly in the low-income countries in the tropics where cattle, sheep, goat, and termites population and rice production are high. Today, methane is considered to be one of the most greenhouse gases and an active contributor to global warming. The average atmospheric residence time of carbon dioxide is 500 years, while in case of methane, it is 7 to 10 years. Now more about nitrous oxide, N2O. That is here, the major source of nitrous oxide are microbial denitrification, vehicular exhaust, and conversion of nitrate to nitrous oxide, soils, lakes, and oceans. The increased application of nitrogen fertilizer, including animal manure, augments the supply of nitrate substrate required for denitrification. Additional emissions of nitrous oxides are produced from urban waste landfill sites and is direct sewage disposal to the large water bodies. The influx of this and other types of organic matter leads to emissions of N2O from the oceans, especially in coastal regions and estuaries. Some nitrous oxide is also released from industrial processes such as the production of adipic acid and nitric acid. Another important greenhouse gas is the CFCs, that is the chlorofluorocarbons. These are released to the atmosphere during the operation and maintenance of appliances and equipments in which these molecules are used as coolants and propellants. These gases drastically affect the climatic changes. Another gas or the substance is the ozone. So ozone remains one of the most perplexing air pollutant. It is formed in the atmosphere by the reaction of different pollutants like reactive hydrocarbons and oxides of nitrogen. It is not emitted from any source. So ozone formation has a very complex relationship with the meteorological conditions. It depends to a large extent on factors such as wind speed, mixing heights, and temperature. Yet another greenhouse gas or vapor is the water vapor, which is the most important of all greenhouse gases. But the mixing ratio of water is highly variable in time and space, and the global relative humidity is constant at about 1%. There are no anthropogenic activities that directly cause the increase of water vapor in the atmosphere. So in general, the energy production is major cause of greenhouse gases. The greenhouse gases arise from many sources, but perhaps more than anything else, the increasing release of several of these species into the atmosphere is associated with energy production and use. For example, all fossil fuels release carbon dioxide when burned. So, you, in fact, the carbon dioxide is commonly known as the greenhouse gas, and it is responsible for about half the atmospheric heat retained from trace gases and also for 50% of the greenhouse effect. On a molecule basis, methane is 20 to 30 times more effective than carbon dioxide in trapping heat here, while the CFCs is 38 million times stronger. N2O, that is nitrous oxide, is 3800 times, and methane is 25 times stronger than carbon dioxide in terms of GWP, that is the global warming potential, which is a function of both the infrared absorption characteristic and the lifetime of a gas. In fact, GWP is the potential of a greenhouse gas to cause global warming. Here is a slide which will express the differences between greenhouse effect and the global warming to some extent. The greenhouse effect and global warming, they are not the same things actually. Then the global warming refers to a rise in the average temperature of the surface of the earth, while an increase in the concentration of greenhouse gases leading to an increase in the magnitude of the greenhouse effect is called the global warming, or you can say this results in the global warming. Once again, you can mention the effects of greenhouse effects here are the global warming, then depletion of ozone layer, smog and air pollution, then acidification of water bodies. So what is global warming? So here the global warming is the phenomena of a gradual increase in the average temperature of the Earth's atmosphere. The main cause for this environmental issue is the increased volumes of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane, etc., which are released by the burning of fossil fuels, emissions from the vehicles, industries, and other human activities, which are called as anthropogenic activities. And the effects of this global warming is rising seas, then polar ice melting, unpredictable storms, then forest fires, etc. There is a question here. What would happen if there were no greenhouse gases at all in the atmosphere? The answer being, if there were no greenhouse gases at all, the average temperature of the earth would have been minus 18 degrees centigrade to 18 degrees centigrade less than today's temperature. Due to this, the ice would cover the earth's surface, which would make survival of living organisms impossible. Now, coming back to the impact. So, impact of global warming on climate change. The greenhouse effect will bring the following important changes in the climate of the earth. The first point you have to mention is ice is melting worldwide, especially at the surface of our poles, that's Earth's poles, polar region. This includes mountain glaciers, ice sheets covering West Antarctica and Greenland, and Arctic sea ice. In Montana's Glacier National Park, the number of glaciers has declined to fewer than 30 from more than 150 in 1910. So much of this melting ice contributes to sea level rise. So global sea levels are rising 0.13 inches a year, and the rise is occurring at a faster rate in recent years. As temperatures change, many species are on the move. Some butterflies, foxes, and alpine plants have migrated farther north or to higher, cooler areas. The precipitation, especially the rain and snowfall, has increased across the globe on average. Yet, some regions are experiencing more severe drought, increasing the risk of wildfires, lost crops, and drinking water shortages. The environmental consequences of climate change, such as extreme heat waves, rising sea levels, changes in precipitation resulting in flooding and droughts, intense hurricanes, and degraded air quality affect directly and indirectly the physical, social, and psychological health of humans. So, this is the impacts of global warming on the human health. Some more points on the effect or impact of global warming on climate change are as follows, which may be the repetition once again, just for you to revise. As a result of rise in temperature of the earth due to global warming, the oceans get warm up and sea level would rise, flooding low-lying regions. A slight increase in sea level could have profound effects on habitation pattern. Many of the world's most important cities and ports would come under the threat of floods. While in tropical regions, the winter will be shorter and warmer, and the summer will be longer and hotter. A warmer climate is likely to make some cities extremely hot. Due to global warming, there will be enormous increase in rainfall, but the problems of desertification, drought, and soil erosion will further worsen. The tropics may have wetter, and the subtropics, which are already dry, are expected to be drier. The rapid increase in industrialization and urbanization, coupled with drastic decrease in forest cover, will create a layer of impenetrable gases on the surface of Earth's atmosphere, converting the planet Earth into a hot blast furnace. The plants and animals will also be affected, resulting in the disruption of the whole ecosystem. The most obvious effect of climate change will be on agriculture. Because carbon dioxide is a natural fertilizer, the plants will grow larger and faster with the increased carbon dioxide in atmosphere. At first sight, the abnormally fast growth of plants might be expected to be beneficial because the yields of major crop might increase. But with the increase in the yield, the soils may become impoverished, that is poor, more rapidly. The bigger plants with larger yield may cause many complicated problems such as disruption of natural ecosystem. Increase in yield means lower prices to farmers. Plants will be less rich in nitrogen and hence they are likely to be susceptible to pests. Soil will become poor rapidly. As a result, it will become incapable of yielding good plant growth. Global warming will lead to higher temperatures and changes in rainfall, and thus in turn will modify the extent and productivity of land suitable for agriculture. For example, a temperature rise or increase of 3 degrees centigrade coupled with a rainfall increase of 10% in the developing countries, there is a decrease of 11% productivity that could have serious consequences for food security in a number of poor developing countries like Africa, Asia, and in South and Central America. In fact, the effects of global warming have taken its toll on people, animals, birds, and habitat. Once again, the impact of global warming on human health. Okay, I just told you the environmental consequences of climate change, such as extreme heat waves, rising sea levels, etc., will directly or indirectly affect the physical, social, and psychological health of humans. Climate change can be a driver of disease migration as well as exacerbate heat effects resulting from the release of toxic air pollutants in vulnerable populations such as children, the elderly, and those with asthma or cardiovascular disease. Some reports indicate a relation between climate change and onset of following diseases such as asthma, respiratory allergies, and airway diseases, foodborne disease, and human developmental effects, mental health and stress related disorders, neurological diseases and disorders, vector-borne and zoonotic diseases, waterborne disease, weather related morbidity, and mortality. So, one more important thing we should know, that is, according to WHO, that is of 2009 estimation, the effect of climate change on human health. The climate change was estimated to have been responsible for 3% of diarrhea, 3% of malaria, 3.8% of dengue fever deaths worldwide in 2004. Total attributable mortality was about 0.2% deaths in 2004. Of these, 5% were child deaths. Conflan-Noray et al., that is a research report in 2007, projected that climate change would increase the number of people suffering from death, disease, and injury from heat waves, floods, storms, fires, and drought. High density populations in low lying coastal regions experience a high health problems from weather disasters. In terms of death and populations affected, floods and tropical cyclones have the greatest impact in South Asia and Latin America. Hot days, hot nights, and heat waves have become more frequent. Heat related morbidity and mortality is projected to increase. While the effects of drought on health includes malnutrition, infectious diseases, respiratory diseases, vector-borne disease are infections transmitted by the bite of infected arthropods species. Several species of wild bird can act as carriers of human pathogens as well as of vectors of infectious agents. So, some impact of global warming on water balance one has to speak about. A number of climate change related trends have been observed that affect water resources. These include changes in precipitation, cryosphere, surface waters, that is, changes in river flows, etc. So, many rivers of North India were perennial since centuries because of ice sheets on the Himalayas. But now scientists fear that river flow may be affected in summers due to depletion of ice sheets. Next, the sea level rise will extend areas of salinization of groundwater and estuaries, resulting in a decrease of freshwater availability for humans and ecosystems in coastal areas. Next, let's know more about the control measures or the mitigation to get rid of this effect of greenhouse gases, which cause greenhouse effect, ultimately causing the global warming. So first point you have to mention is reduce the use of materials which produce greenhouse gases. Then avoid the burning of fossil fuels and household residue. The upgrade infrastructures. Afforestation has to be done using alternative sources of energy. Then using eco-friendly materials. Incineration plants should be established. Waterlogging should be avoided. Reduction of the use of Cfcs. The pollution should be controlled. Two more points regarding the same. What can we do to prevent global warming? A question. Answer would be reduce the amount of energy we use. Use cars with better gas mileage, energy efficient appliances, turning off electrical appliances when not in use. Next is use sources of energy that do not emit carbon dioxide. Here you can use the solar energy or substances like hydrogen, the wind energy and biodiesel. A very important protocol called Greenhouse Gas Protocol provides accounting and reporting standards, sector guidance, calculation tools and trainings for business and government. It's usually called as GHG protocol. It provides webinars, e-learning and in-person training and capacity building support on its standards and tools. As of to June 2013, there are 192 countries which signed the protocol, which is called as Kyoto Protocol. In short, this Kyoto Protocol operationalizes the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change by committing industrialized countries and economies in transition to limit and reduce greenhouse gases emission in accordance with agreed individual targets. In 2015, at the Sustainable Development Summit held in Paris, all UNFCCC's participants signed yet another pact, the Paris Climate Agreement, which effectively replaced the Kyoto Protocol. So once again, maybe for 2 marks, they may ask a question on the Kyoto Protocol. You can answer it. The Kyoto Protocol actually is an agreement made under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Countries that ratify this protocol commit to reduce their emissions of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases or engage in emissions trading if they remain or maintain or increase emissions of these gases. The Kyoto Protocol now covers more than 160 countries globally. The treaty was negotiated in Kyoto, Japan in December 1997, opened for signature on March 16, 1998 and closed on March 15, 1999. The agreement came into force on Feb 16, 2005. So a very, very recent Uttarakhand glacier burst because of the effect of global warming or greenhouse effect. You can have a look at it. Very recent issue it was. They were showing it in the television, etc. So in the year 2021, on 7th Feb, a deluge that resulted from a glacial melt on Nanda Devi flooded the Rishiganga river in Uttarakhand, India, and washed away at least two hydroelectric power projects, the 13.2 megawatt Rishi Ganga hydroelectric power project and the Tapovan project on the Auli Ganga river, a tributary of the Alakananda. It has trapped more than 200 laborers who are feared dead. Environmental experts have attributed the glacial melt to global warming. This is very important. The climate change has driven erratic weather patterns like increased snowfall and rainfall. Warmer winters has led to the melting of a lot of snow. The thermal profile of ice, say experts, was increasing. Earlier, the temperature of ice ranged from -6 to -20 degrees centigrade. It is now -2, making it more susceptible to melting. So with this, let's learn about the outcome of the study. So here, you can, whatever we have learned, we will be put into a small nutshell. So here, greenhouse gases, they have far-ranging environmental and health effects. They cause climate change by trapping heat, and they also contribute to respiratory disease from smog and air pollution. Extreme weather, food supply disruptions, and increased wildfires are other effects of climate change caused by greenhouse gases. Without the greenhouse effect, the earth would not be able to support life. But if the greenhouse effect becomes too strong, the earth will be too hot to support life. The result of anthropogenic emissions affect greenhouse gases. The combination of warming temperatures and melting ice sheets and glaciers is causing global sea level to rise, which presents a growing threat to vital coastal ecosystems and millions of people around the world who live in coastal regions. We can slow down the rate and limit the amount of global warming by reducing human emissions of heat trapping gases and soot, that is the black carbon. So after discussing about what greenhouse gases, greenhouse effect, global warming and its impact on climate change and human health, etc., now let us learn some of the multiple choice questions and discuss them with the answers. The first question being, the greenhouse effect causes, you all know what it causes: lowering in temperature of the earth, rise in temperature of the earth, rise in acid rain, and increase in rainfall. So the opt answer being B option, there it is the rise in temperature of the earth. Second question, during greenhouse effect, carbon dioxide and water vapor absorbs short wave radiation, long wave radiation, solar radiation, and UV radiations, and the answer option is D. Next, third MCQ. If global warming continues, the organisms which may face severe threat is cow, banana, snow leopard, dolphin, etc. Here can the option C is the correct answer. Suppose if there is global warming, the organism which may face severe threat is the snow leopard. So the organisms which live in the polar regions. Next question, CFCs are used in, that is the chlorofluorocarbons are used in, options are air conditioning, refrigeration, cleaning of electronic equipments, and D, all of these. So the option D is the correct answer. Next question, global warming affects food production, melting of glaciers, and climate change, and the fourth is all of these. So the answer to this question will be the option C, because it will affect climate change. The greenhouse effect is related to green trees on house, global warming, grasslands, greenery in country. So the answer is the option A, that is global warming. Seventh MCQ. The protocol that reduces greenhouse gas emission is Kyoto Protocol, Cartagena Protocol, Montreal Protocol, Vienna Protocol. The answer is the option A, that is Kyoto Protocol. And the last slide is for the references. You can have a look at it in case if you have any doubts. You can get them clarified by reading more about the topic. Thank you.